All right, we're going to talk about the diagonal win checking method at this point. So this one is a little more complicated because you have to do both this diagonal and this diagonal. So the trick is with this one, like the other methods, you have to give yourself room. So I've tried to draw a bunch of different, or get it to show a bunch of different vertical or diagonal wins. So there's this one here, there's this one here, there's this one here, there's all sorts. So there's, you got to think about like what is the criteria by which there's a diagonal win. So it's this row and column, and then one column over, one row down, one column over, one row down, one column over, one row down. That's one pattern. And then there's also the pattern of, let's start here. So if we're starting right here, there's one row back, but also one column down. One row back, but one column down. One row back, but one column down. So in either case, in either direction, the column goes down. But in one way, the row is, we add one to the row to get over, and in the other direction, we're just subtracting one from the row to figure it out. You know, there's one of these that has a negative slope and one that has a positive slope. This is the negative slope, right? I remember math. Okay, so we have to try and code that idea. So let's head over to our game class, and we're going to be working on the diagonal win, which is a method around line 85 if you've been following along. Or, nah, different than that because your code's going to be different than mine. Okay, so let's start working on the loops again. So again, we need to look at each row and column of our board. So let's start. So pause, try and write a loop to look at the rows. Okay, so I'm gonna continue. For row equals 0, row is less than the length of the board. Row plus plus. Each time through our loop, we want to go to the next row. And then at each row, we want to look at each column. Column, we want the loop to continue as long as column is, the value of column is less than the length of a row. And every time through our loop, we want to add 1 to the value of column. And then we want to check again we'll do the red one together. And we'll say we have a red count of 0 starting at our row and column index. And for this one, we want to do, let's start with this direction. Okay, so we're going to start here and head down here. And in this case, we need to not only restrict it in either the row or column directions, but in both. Because if we start here, we're going to all of a sudden get over to here. Well, if we start here, we're going to go brrr, even though we could go all the way down and be fine, but you know, we're going to go out of bounds in this direction. Or similarly, if we start here, we have enough columns to do the check, but not enough rows. So we have to restrict our starting point to this area of the board only, so that we have room to check all of the different things that we want to check. Because there can't be a diagonal win originating at this square in this direction. This is the one that we're going to do right now. We'll also have to do a second kind of portion of the method to address the other direction, but we're just going to do this direction right now. Okay, so we have to restrict our starting point of our win check method, or this portion of it, to these originating squares, because we're going to start here and head down and to the right. Okay, so how do we restrict our loops to do that? Well, we have to restrict them both, because we need to give ourselves 3 rows and 3 columns of additional space. And so here we have to do the if checks. Now try and complete this part of the method on your own. So if board at row call equals red count plus plus. And now we want to check for 4 in a row. But here we want to check for the row over and the column down. Here we want to check for the row over and column down from there, row over, and I'm going to adjust the numbers in just a sec. This one should be 2 plus 2, and this one should be plus 3, so that we look at, let's say we're originating here, we look at this one, and then we look at the one that's 1 row over and 1 column down, 2 rows over and 2 columns down, and 3 rows over and 3 columns down. And then, if we have found, in fact, 4 reds, then we want the result to be changed to true from its starting value of false. We have found the condition we are looking for. Alright, so that is enough for this video, but we've only covered a fourth of the diagonal win checker method. You still have to do this for, so right now what I would like you to do is to write this same method, or same part of the method down here, for the yellow, diagonal with a negative slope. So this is the red negative slope diagonal win. So your job is down here, I would like you to write the yellow negative slope diagonal win checker loops, which is just this, but like switching it over to yellow and stuff. Alright, and that's enough for this video. In the next video, we're going to cover the red positive slope diagonal win.